1891 to 92, it says that I want to share my thoughts about these quotes. If our countrymen repose their faith only in us who are in Europe, they make a great mistake. This generally credulity that we may be able to aid from this distant land seem to me to be a great error. The medicine must be applied those to the wound, Jose Rizal. In this quote, Jose Rizal expresses his belief that the Filipino people would not rely solely on those who are abroad, particularly in Europe, to bring about change and improvement in their country. He emphasizes expecting aid and solutions from distant land is a mistake. Instead, he argued that the solution to the problems facing the Philippines must come from within the country itself, likening to apply medicine directly to a wound. So Rizal is advocating for self-reliance and self-determination among Filipino and suggesting that they must take active roles in addressing their issue rather than depending on internal assistance. So this reflects his broader message of empowerment and nationalism, encouraging Filipino to be proactive in seeking and implementing reform for the betterment of their nation. So what you should know about in this part, so we should know about in this part about the writings in Hong Kong of Jose Rizal, the decision to return to Manila, and the last Hong Kong letter, and Rizal falls into Spanish trap. So during his time in Hong Kong, Jose Rizal writings served as a beacon of hope and inspiration for the Filipino people. From his foreign land, Rizal continued his passionate advocacy for Philippines reform and independence despite being exiled from his homeland. Kasi ito na yung time na parang need niyang pumunta sa Hong Kong kasi may taning ang buhay niya, parang binabantaan siya. So his words were imbued with a profound sense of nationalism, critiquing the injustice of Spanish colonial rule and calling for social, political, and economic reform. So through his writings, Rizal sought to empower his fellow countrymen, urging them to stand up for their rights and work towards a brighter future for the Philippines. So, his legacy of leadership and activism continue to resonate today. So, reminding Filipino of the power of their collective voice and the enduring struggle of freedom and justice. So habang nasa Hong Kong naman siya, marami rin siyang mga sinulat na mga novel at marami rin siyang sinulat na mga articles. So ito yung mga nakapaloob dito, as you can see in the screen. And sa writing in Hong Kong, meron siyang sinulat na novel pero na Tagalog pero hindi natapos kasi nga poor of ano siya, of literally Tagalog. So he wrote naman ang mga karapatan ng tao, which is a Tagalog translation of the rights of man proclaimed by the French Revolution in 1789. So about the same time in 1891, he wrote a La Naciano Española to the Spanish nation, which is an appeal to Spain to right the wrong done to the Calamba tenants. So another proclaim entitled Sa Mga Kababayan to My Countrymen was written in December 1891 explaining the Calamba agrarian situation. So Rizal contribute articles to the British Daily Newspaper in Hong Kong Telegram. So na-meet niya rin dito si Frazier Smith was his friend. Copies of his newspaper para ma-deliver ito sa Philippines para maalam ng mga Filipino na um, may pakialam pa rin sa kanila si Rizal by writing some articles. So, the vigilant Spanish censor soon the coverage of spread of Rizal idea and immediately banned the Hong Kong newspaper. So nalaman ng mga Spanish na ganun yung ginagawa ni Jose Rizal. Kaya ang ginawa ng ng mga Spanish ay binan nila si Jose Rizal para hindi na makapag publish ng newspaper sa Hong Kong. So, in March 2, 1892, Jose Rizal wrote a Una Visita a la Victoria, a visit to Victoria Gaol, an account of his visit to the colonial prison of Hong Kong. In this article, he contrasted the cruel Spanish prison system with the modern and more human British prison system. So, to to Borneo Colonial Project, he wrote nagsulat naman siya ng article in French entitled Colonialization Brazil, the Brazil or North Borneo. So, para para about yun siya sa parang letter or article para sa kanyang family sa British yan. So, by families from the Philippines island. Parang sinulat niya yung article na yon para makita ng mga family niya doon sa Philippines, pati na rin ng fellow mga Filipino. So, he elaborate the same idea of an other article sa Spanish na naman yung nasulat dito. And it is all about the project of the colonization of British North Borneo by the Filipino. So in June 1892, he wrote La Mano Roja, the Red Hand, which was printed in sheet from Hong Kong. It demands the frequent outbreak of intentional fires in Manila. So the most important writing made by Rizal during in Hong Kong was the Constitution and By-Law of the Ligang Filipina, which has printed in Hong Kong. In 1892, to deceive the Spanish authorities, the printed copies carry the false information that the printed was done by the London Printing Press, number 25, sa street ng London. So, the idea of establishing the Ligang Filipina, Philippines League, an associate of Patriotic Filipina civic purposes. So was originally conceived by the Jose Basa. So but it was Rizal who wrote its constitution and realized its establishment. Copies of the printed Liga Constitution were sent by Rizal to Domingo Franco, his friend in Manila. Ito yung mga involved sa unang part ng topic natin na mga tao. So, Mr. Fazier Smith, the editor in the British daily newspaper, the Hong Kong Telegraph, ay Rizal friend. So, ito yung friend niya sa Rizal para nagpapatulong siya mag-publish ng mga articles para ipadala sa Philippines. So, and next is si Domingo Franco Rizal send copies of printed Liga Constitution. Also, he is a friend of Rizal in Manila. And pangatlo dyan is si Jose Basa, an association of patriotic Filipino for civic purposes was originally conceived by Jose Basa. Jose Rizal decided to go back to Manila because he wanted to help make things better for his country, the Philippines. Even though he knew it was risky and he might get in trouble with the Spanish authorities, he felt it was important to stand up for what he believed in. So Jose Rizal believed that by returning, he could inspire other Filipino to join the fight for independence and bring about positive change. He trusted in the strength and resilience of the Filipino people and wanted to lead by example. So, in Rizal decision showed his strong dedication to his country and his desire to make a difference. So may mga reason kung bakit nagdesisyon si Jose Rizal na bumalik sa Manila, Philippines para i-prove na mali yung mga gi-accuse sa kanya. So number one is to confer with the Governor Dispahol regarding with his Borneo colonization project. Number two is to establish the Lipa Filipina in Manila. And number three, to prove that Eduardo de Lele was wrong in attacking him in Madrid, that he, Rizal, being comfortable with safe in Hong Kong. Akala niya nag-play safe si Rizal at pumunta sa Hong Kong para maging safe siya doon. Parang yun yung pagkaintindi niya kung bakit si Rizal tinakasan niya yung responsibility niya dito sa Philippines. So, akala nila na inibando na ni Jose Rizal ang Philippines, kaya pumunta siya sa Hong Kong. Now, let's proceed to La Solidaridad was a pivotal newspaper that emerged during the late 19th century, serving as a beacon of Filipino nationalists amidst Spanish colonial rule in the Philippines. So it is founded in 1889 and based in Barcelona, Spain. It became a platform for Filipino expatriates and intellectuals, including luminaries such as Cesar Rizal, Marcelo H. Del Pilar, and Graciano Lopez Johena. Throughout its page, La Solidaridad vigorous advocate for political, social, and economic reforms, articulating the uh, grievances of the Filipino people and challenging the injustice of colonialism. It promoted a sense of nationalism, fostering unity and pride among Filipino while also encouraging intellectual discourse and debate on issue partition of the Filipino context. So, before departing from Hong Kong, celebrate muna ni Jose Rizal ang kanyang 31st birthday sa Hong Kong. So, Rizal penned his last letter to friends, allies, and supporters, bidding farewell to the city that had served as a temporary home during a critical juncture in his life. So, um, for bago siyang umuwi, relatives and friends of Rizal opposed his decision to return home because it was like parang banta daw sa buhay ni Jose Rizal na umuwi pa. Pinigilan siya ng kanyang sister na si Trinidad. Uh, Baka raw kasi pag umuwi siya, sabi ng kapatid niya, for here they will kill you. So parang papatayin siya ng mga tao na nag-aabang if malaman na if uuwi siya ng Philippines. Kasi parang banta yung buhay niya that time sa Philippines kaya siya pumunta sa Hong Kong. So hindi mo pinigilan muna siya ng kanyang kapatid na si Trinidad na umuwi kasi nga baka patayin siya. So not even the fear of death could mapigilan si Jose Rizal sa sa decision niya dahil desidido na talaga siya na umuwi dito sa Manila, Philippines. So on June 19, 1892, he spent his 31st birthday in Hong Kong. Evidently, he had a premonition of his death of the following day. In June 20 naman, in the same year, he wrote two letters which he sealed. Um, Nakaseal parang nakalagay siya sa envelope. To be opened after my last death and give them to his friend Dr. Marquez for safe keep. So, pinatago niya yon kay Dr. Marquez para maging safe yung letter na yon. And these pages of history, they're scarcely a parallel for these two sealed letter which were virtually realized political testament. Ang mga letter na kanyang isinulat para sa kanyang family, friends, and para sa kapwa niya Pilipino. So, as you can see in the screen, nilagay ko yung sinulat niya mismo sa kanyang parents and para sa kanyang mga friends, yung letter na pinatago niya kay Marquez. So, in this letter to my parents, brethren, and friends, Jose Rizal expresses heartfelt gratitude and affection to his loved ones while conveying his experiences and reflection during his time in exile. He acknowledges the challenges of being far from home but finds solace in the support and memories of his family and friends. So, Rizal emphasizes the importance of unity and solidarity among Filipinos, urging them to remain resilient and steadfast in their pursuit of justice and independence. So, despite the distance, he reassured his loved ones of his unwavering commitment to the Filipino cause and his determination to contribute the positive change. Through his word, Rizal conveys a sense of hope and resilience, inspiring his readers to continue the struggle for a better future of the Philippines. So, ito naman yung letter ni Jose Rizal para sa mga Pilipino. So, habang binabasa ko itong letter na isinulat ni Jose Rizal para sa ating mga Pilipino is na-touch ako dahil um, grabe yung inspiration na ibinigay niya sa ating mga kabataan, hindi lang sa ating mga kabataan but para sa ating lahat na nandito ngayon na naninirahan sa Pilipinas. So, in Jose Rizal Rizal letter addressed to the Filipino people, he reflects on the state of the nation and calls for unity and reform. He acknowledges the challenges and injustice faced by Filipino under Spanish colonial rule, urging his fellow countrymen to rise above division and empathy. So, kasi sa araw na ito is nakita ko rin doon sa movie ni General Luna na si Jose Rizal doon ay busy talaga siyang magsulat kahit parang komplikado na ang kanyang sitwasyon is hindi niya pa rin pinababayaan ang kanyang pagsulat para may history tayo at may alam tayo kung ano ang nangyayari sa dati sa mga ginawa nila. So Rizal emphasized the importance of education, enlightenment, and moral regeneration as the key to the national progress and liberation. Kasi yung napanood ko doon sa movie ni General Luna is as we observe yung magta-traitor talaga sa atin ay ang kapwa natin Pilipino. So, sana maiwasan natin yon kasi sobrang pangit or nakaka-trigger talaga siya. Parang nakakainis yung part na gano'n na kapwa mo Pilipino ang huhulog sa'yo pababa. So, he encouraged Filipino to take pride in their identity, culture, and heritage while also advocating for peaceful resistance and collective action against oppression. So, through his letter, Rizal inspired hope and instilled a sense of purpose in his fellow Filipino, relying them to work towards a future of freedom, dignity, and prosperity of the nation. Now, let's proceed na nung nakauwi na si Jose Rizal dito sa Philippines. Pero, hindi niya alam is nahulog siya sa patibong ng mga Spanish. Jose Rizal returned to the Philippines hoping to work for positive changes peacefully. Pero, instead of being welcome, akala niya ma-welcome siya, pag salubong sa kanya, he was arrested by the Spanish authorities. This unexpected arrest caught him off guard and he can be seen as him falling into a trap set by Spanish government. So Rizal arrested led to widespread outrage among Filipino people and contributed to the growing calls for independence from Spanish rule. So the despiteful Despujol ordered his secretary, Luis de la Torre, to find out of Rizal was naturalized as a German citizen, as was a rumor, so that he might take proper action against one who had the protection of a strong nation. So, on the same day of June 21, 1892, a secret case was filed in Manila against Rizal and and his followers for anti-religious and anti-patriotic agitation. So, sino nga ba itong nagpadakip or nag-trap, no? Gumawa ng rumor kay Jose Rizal para ipahuli, ganun. So, ito siya is the Governor General Valesiano Wader, also known as the Spujol, was the Spanish colonial leader in the Philippines during the late 19th century. He implemented harsh policies including the reconcentration policy, which led to widespread suffering among Filipinos. So, Jose Rizal criticized Wiley's administration in his writings, contributing in the growing nationalist sentiment in the Philippines. After all, chapter 20 of Jose Rizal's life during his time in Hong Kong revolves around his continued effort in advocating for reforms and independence of the Philippines despite being in exile. So, Rizal writings during this period reflect his deep commitment to the Filipino cause, critiquing colonial injustice and calling for social, political, and economic reform. So, he emphasized the importance of self-reliance and unity among Filipino while cautioning against relying solely on external support. Rizal leadership and activism in Hong Kong further inspired the nationalist movement, relying the groundwork for future struggle for independence of the fellow Filipino. So that will be all in this part. Thank you for watching.